Greetings. Today we continue the economic judgment of Babylon Part 2. This is section or installment 2, and we continue with the self-gratification for which she's being judged. When we read verses 8 in chapter 18, verses 9 and 10, we should note the self-interest which is expressed in the mourning by the kings of the earth. When they see the destruction of economic Babylon, they stand afar off and mourn because of the fear of her particular torment. They're not mourning for her, but because they fear what will be, and that they will be next. A minor note, according to some, the word woe is referenced to Strong's 3758 in the King James, which is an interjection of surprise, wonder, or amazement. Yet Thayer, in his lexicon on page 461, and the context here would be most accurate as 3759, which is the interjection of grief and denunciation. It cannot be an expression of surprise because declared this fact beforehand by his messengers in verses 2 and 3. According to the declaration, the kings will also be judged for participating with this great whore in her fornication. That brings us to verses 11 through 13, which outline the mourning by the merchants of the earth. And the merchants of the earth are weeping aloud, and they're sorrowing over her because their particular merchandise no one he is buying anymore. Their merchandise of gold and of silver and of precious stone and of pearl and purple fine linen things and scarlet silk things and fine citrus wood things and ivory vessels, most precious expensive woods and brass vessels and iron vessels and marble vessels and cinnamon and perfume, myrrh, frankincense, wine, olive oil, refined wheat flour, not just barley flour, and beasts of burden, and sheep and horses and chariots. A four-wheeler from Gaul would have been the top-notch thing in those days. Slaves and souls of men. Living slaves. Slaves in prostitution for profit. Slaves in pornography for profit. Slaves in pharmakia or drugs for profit, slaves in pleasure for profit. Souls of men continued, dead slaves, slaves in purgatory for profit, if you please. Again, notice the self-interest in the mourning of the merchants of the earth. They are not mourning for her, but they're mourning because their, quote, bottom line, their net profit will be affected. When they see the destruction of economic Babylon, they stand afar off and mourn because of the loss of personal profits derived from their association with this great whore. The law of supply and demand will both be affected by God's judgment according to verse 14. And the fruit of the lust of your particular soul, she went away from you, and all the luxuries of food, and the shining things that perished itself from you, and they shall certainly not find them any more. Why will no one be buying these things from the merchants any more, as Revelation 18:11 states? First, demand will be changed. The fruit of the lust of your particular soul, she went away from you. And second, supply will be cut off. And all the luxuries of food, etc., and the shining things, it perished itself from you, and they shall certainly not find them any more. Our markets are already driven by this philosophy. Find out what people want and supply it to them. People seem to want pleasures in pharmakia and pornography and prostitution, all contrary to God's law, and it's being supplied to them by someone for a profit. Peter warned in 2 Peter 2 and verse 3, and through covetousness, with feigned, falsified words, advertising, They shall make merchandise of you.